Check. Looks like everything's working pretty good. Hello, Steve Stine here again, and you're joining me on Friday, right before Easter here, but as I told you, I'm not actually live today. You're watching a pre-recording of me, but I did want to finish our discussion about melodic soloing. So if you've been joining me for the last few live sessions, what we've been doing is celebrating the release of my melodic soloing guitar course, which you can head over to guitarzoom.com and check that out, or there's going to be a link in the chat here at some point. I'm sure the team will put some links in there that you can check that out. So what we've done is, would be our fourth live event, but of course I'm not actually live, but I did want to make this for you. So in the first one, what we were doing is we were learning to visualize our fretboard differently by thinking about triads across the fretboard, whether we're thinking about them as notes or whether we're thinking about them as shapes. Okay, and then we started moving into trying to connect those together a bit more and combining both scales and arpeggios together so it doesn't just sound like you're playing a bunch of arpeggios. And then the last live session I did, we were talking about non-chord tones, notes of the scale that are not the root, the third, or the fifth, really is what we were doing. And learning how those notes can create a bit more color and dissonance, and then we can resolve that very easily by just going to another note and learning how to kind of balance those visual tools so we're giving our solos purpose, melodic purpose, by trying to emphasize certain notes that work over certain chords, as opposed to just playing everything all the time, right? We're trying to give unique sound and that sort of thing. So today what I want to do is I want to talk to you about the difference between visualizing your fretboard both vertically and horizontally, and how that can make a really substantial difference in your playing. So let's go ahead and get started. And again, if you see the link over there and you want to check out the guitar course, please do so. So basically what we're going to do here is we're going to take the three chords. Let me play a little bit of the track. Again, this is a backing track from Elevated Jam Tracks. They're available if you go to bandcamp.com. I think it's called Elevated Jam Tracks are available there. And let me rewind this a little bit. So the chords that we're dealing with here are A, D, and F sharp minor. That's basically what we've been doing. So let's listen to this just a little bit here. So here's our A, D, F sharp minor, and D. That's the basic idea of what we've been learning so far. Now what we want to do is we want to start thinking a little bit more about the movement that we're doing and really try and bring in this idea of playing more horizontal. Now this is something that really kind of opened my eyes when I was younger by listening to Joe Satriani, and I know there's a lot of other people that did this too. It's just for whatever reason, Joe Satriani, it resonated with me when I would listen to him play and I would watch him play and things like that. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to start thinking about trying to move more, maybe on a single string, to get more of that kind of piano sound, where when we're playing vertically, we can use all of our licks. And we want that stuff, no doubt about it. But when we're playing on a single string, and we can add more strings as we go, but if we're playing on just one string, we can't really do all that. It really kind of forces us to think about trying to create melody that way. And what we might do is we can slide, of course. and get those really nice sounds like that. We can do a lot of bending, which is really nice. And get that kind of sound. I love moving horizontally just simply because it makes me feel more like I'm playing melodically. And my phrasing changes dynamically. It's a large contrast instead of when I'm playing like that, I'll stay in A major. That kind of stuff that I'll do when I'm playing in more of a vertical sense. So what we want to do here is start thinking about moving, and let's just kind of do this, not really worrying about so much about notes and stuff for now. We're going to bring that in just a minute here, but I'm just going to start this over, and we're going to listen. So you get some really nice melody by doing that. Now, obviously, the next thing we want to do is start thinking a little bit about where these notes are going to be. So let's break down the A and the D and the F sharp minor and just sort of plant these on the second string. Now, you could do this on any string. You could move anywhere you want, but I'm just doing it on the second string just to kind of give you an idea. So if I was looking for the A, of course, I'm looking for the notes A, C sharp, and E, okay? So first thing we have to do here is think about, well, where would we find an A? Well, we'd have an A here. Okay. Well, where do we have an E? Right? So if we have an A right here, we have an E up here. Okay. So there's our E. So we have A and E. And then we have to think, well, where would C sharp be? Well, we could have a C sharp right here. Okay. Okay. So right there. Okay, so A. So there's our A chord. Okay, so we start to plant those down. We start thinking about that a little bit. So A, E, and C sharp. Okay, then we go to the D chord. Now we need D, F sharp, and A. So, okay, so that's fine. So we have D. And then we got to find F sharp and A. Okay, so there we go. So we got those planted now. We're thinking about that. And then we've got F sharp minor that comes up. So we have to start thinking about the F sharp minor, which is going to be F sharp, A, and C sharp. Okay, so we can create some real basic things here by just thinking about maybe going from, whatever. We might go from just the A of the A, and then D comes up, okay? We have to think, well, where do we want to go over D? Because we have D, F sharp, and A. Well, we're on A right now. Let's drop down to that F sharp. Okay, so we're going to try and go from here. And then F sharp minor comes up, okay? So what am I going to do there? Well, I'm going to move up, and I like to do this bend. So I'm going to bend up to that C sharp right there. So just a real basic idea, just to start building something, okay? So here we go. We got to go back to something. We could go back here again if we wanted to. Start thinking about what we could do to make this sound a little more melodic, a little more real. Okay, so let's add some dynamics and stuff, just kind of looking at some different things we can do with this. Just kind of keep building this out as we go. Now, it's okay for you to explore and not really know what you're doing and just kind of move around and train your ear and all those sorts of things. They're all great. But the more you start really establishing a connection to the notes that are being played in the chords and where they lie on your fretboard, you're going to make less mistakes, and you're going to have more ability of landing on the right note at the right time. That doesn't mean that you always have to land, as we've talked about in the other prior live sessions, that doesn't mean you have to land on them at a certain time. And of course, you want to shake up dynamic contrast. I say it all the time. You don't want to play the same rhythms all the time. You don't want to play the same dynamic all the time. You have to be aware of these things. And a great thing to practice, if you've never done this before, is take a piece of paper and write down a bunch of different ideas on that piece of paper, and then just set it in front of you when it's time to jam. Use your creative bucket that we've talked about, these buckets before for practice. And you could put things very simply like dynamics. Play loud and soft, high, low, fast, slow. Lower your volume down, slow down, stop playing, right? Play a lick. You could put all kinds of different things on there. And that way, when you look at that piece of paper, you go, oh, okay, so here's some ideas of things. And they all seem silly because it's not like these big musical ideas. But the truth is those things make a huge difference. When you play, and again, you've probably heard me talk about this before, but when you play and you literally stop playing the guitar, that's where the period at the end of a sentence goes. Okay? If you're just playing the entire time forever, the listener never gets a chance to breathe because you're just playing all the time. So it's nice to be able to stop once in a while when you're playing. Let me rewind this again. Another thing I might start doing as I'm playing this is start thinking about maybe playing a couple of strings. Some things that I like to do, I might do stuff like this where I incorporate movements like that where I'm using two different strings. And notice how what I'm doing here is playing these two notes right here like a fifth. But I won't always do that. Sometimes I'll do things where I use larger intervals like this too. So I might go. See? Just depends, but it sounds kind of neat to do that. Or I might start just visualizing two strings at the same time. You see? Instead of just seeing the one string, I might actually try and see both of those strings and then utilize them both to kind of move around the fretboard this way as well. So if we take that and we start utilizing our traditional scale sets, and we combine all of these things together, let me switch over here. And I'm just going to jam, bad notes included, just jamming here. That's right. So there it switches to a new thing, which again, I think we got to once a while back, but I don't want to go that far right now. That's just the same idea, but it just keeps building further in. So if that kind of makes sense, we now have the ability of seeing a pentatonic scale, possibly a diatonic scale, and really being able to separate the visualization of those. Because sometimes when you play, it's nice to be able to pull back and go, okay, well, if I want to play in A major, right, even if I just came up here, A major pentatonic, people still have a misconception about pentatonic, like it's a beginner scale or something where you learn diatonics and it's better. It's not. They're just different. The nice thing about pentatonic is it enables you to play more intervallically because it's missing some notes. But that can be really nice in its sound. You see, you get more of that blues, rock and roll, southern rock kind of thing. We don't want to get rid of that. We still want that sound, okay? It's just whenever we want, we can drop into that kind of sound as well. So I always think you have pentatonic, you have diatonic, then you've got these triads that you're trying to visualize, and if you want to see something larger than a standard triad, you want to add in your sevenths or something, it's okay too. I'm just saying you have to make some sort of connection to those chords. You can go as far as you want, but make something, okay? And now what we're doing is we're learning how to combine chord tones with non-chord tones and how we can use those non-chord tones to create a bit of tension. And then ultimately on top of that, learn to visualize your fretboard both vertically and horizontally. And again, you could write all of these things down on a piece of paper. So anyway, hopefully that helps you a little bit. Nice little discussion to have right before Easter. I'm sorry I couldn't be here live to do this, but I am glad that you took time out to watch it. And you can always watch the other ones if you head over to YouTube or Facebook, find the playlist and subscribe if you want to. But please do me a favor, certainly check out the guitar course, check out Melodic Soloing and see if it's something that might benefit you. Take care, stay positive, and keep practicing.